Once upon a time, in a cold, snowy land called Vermont, there lived a man named Tad. And Tad was sad. You see, in Tad's village, there was but one church. And one cold winter day, that one church closed its doors for good. For Tad, that was bad.
I think there was 5 or 6 of us left. And I really felt real bad to have to vote to close the church.
For years after, the old church stood empty. Stephen Baker and his children played football there.
We actually lived right across the street from here, and it just seemed like a nice church, a pretty church.
But there were never any other signs of life at the old church. As far as the villagers were concerned, this was the end of the story. But the villagers were wrong. It was really just the beginning. West Pawlet, Vermont is known for 2 things. One is cows. The other is the stranger who came to town a few years back. His name was Lyandon, and all anyone knew about him was that he worked at a dairy farm, and he talked funny.
When I came, I noticed that I usually got 2 questions from people that I met. I would get an odd glance, and then they would say, "Where are you from, and why are you here?"
So why did Lyandon come all the way to Vermont from down south? It wasn't just to work with cows. He came to West Pawlet because he'd heard what the townspeople wanted to do with their old church.
They had read an article in a newspaper that Green Mountain Baptist Association was taking over vacant churches and reopening them. And they were like, wow, well maybe they could do that here.
What are the first 4 books of the New Testament called?
Lyandon and his wife came here as North American Mission Board missionaries. They came to plant a new church in the old building.
1, 2, 3.
And they started with a kids club that after only a few weeks had the whole town talking.
There was people asking questions like, what's going on at the church? You know, they see this activity and they're curious, and God began the process of reawakening a church that basically had just gone to sleep.
After a few months, Lyandon invited the whole town to a worship service.
It's all from God.
And pretty much the whole town showed up. There was Tad, who is sad, but now is glad.
It was really exciting, but God really opened the doors.
There was Stephen Baker, who went from playing football outside the church to giving his life to Jesus inside the church.
I know that he used Lyandon and this church as the vehicle that drove me to my salvation.
And there was Lyandon Warren, who came to West Pawlet, Vermont to reopen the only church in town. And because he did, a lot of people here will now live happily ever after.
You know, I had never been involved with a church plant, but God has created a love in our heart for these people, and we can't imagine being anywhere else, honestly. We really do love it here.